Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a Mi'kmaq woman from Nova Scotia. I'm making a film about an important issue, one that goes to the heart of my own identity. The working title is I'm Listening, Sister, and it's about connecting Indigenous knowledge across borders. The effects of this issue may not be part of your everyday life, but for my people it is something that has been ongoing for 150 years, and one that has been affecting Indigenous people around the world for hundreds more. Take a moment to try to imagine your world without any Indigenous influences. What would you miss? Are you even able to recognize what you have to thank our Indigenous ancestors for? Or do you take it for granted like so many else? As a Canadian, imagine us without an Indigenous history. Would you be here? I love to travel to new places and learn about what makes each place unique. When I go somewhere, I immediately feel the need to understand who were the first people. This is what I was taught to see in my own homeland. Certainly not in school, but through my upbringing. And it's the way I like to approach the world. I love learning, interpreting, and sharing the stories that I learn. From the devastating. Our Indigenous ancestors of the West Indies were completely demolished in one swoop by early colonialists. They've left us only with ancient pottery to tell us about their lifestyle. I've collected this freely off eroding beaches. The triumphant. After generations of European rule, Bolivian Indigenous took ownership of their government. I focused a law school study about the UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights and its adoption in that country. And finally, the status quo. In the vast middle ground, where is most often the case, colonialist attempts of genocide or subsequent attempts at Indigenous integration were mostly unsuccessful, leaving lasting impacts on Indigenous people, sometimes lost in a modern society. With modern representations of a world that used to be, Indigenous culture is trying to survive and forge its own place in a world of opposing forces. This is where we are in Canada, and an experience shared in Costa Rica as one example. Around the world, the chipping away is continuing at the hands of intolerant societies, complacent and sometimes malicious governments, and our new colonialists, international conquering resource developers. If we continue to let Indigenous people be silenced and continue to chip away at Indigenous identity in a way that renders each generation a little less aware, one day we won't know where we've come from. And we will all suffer that loss, and we'll all be to blame. We see neighboring Indigenous people holding fast to long-held rivalries, despite their similarities in identity and struggle. Together, we can be stronger. When we are divided, competing, or only brought together under the oppressor's agenda, we are weak. We can connect Indigenous people as a defense. To me, this is where the hope lies, and where the most help is needed, and that's where I come in. We need to talk, share, listen, and learn. And when I travel, I ask the questions and dig for the uniting pieces among my Indigenous sisters. There are so many, but starting with Nicole of Kitchener-Maikosup in Inuit, also known as Big Trout Lake First Nation, or KI for short, a Cree community in northwestern Ontario, part of the vast, out of sight, out of Canadians' minds, fly-in communities where you'll find people living off the land in harsh winter climates, where a mixture of Ojibwe and Cree is spoken, historically disagreeing nations. And we have Jackie of Puerto Viejo de Limon, Costa Rica, a Bribri and Kalkori Indigenous woman, also disagreeing nations, who teaches tourists about her heritage and traditional land for a living. Both women come from strong ties to their natural environments. Traditional medicinal and other Indigenous knowledge is held sacred in their families. They come from nations of valiant land protectors who have faced losses and victories against resource developers and oppressive governments. And they still persist. Both of these women are committed to preserving the sacred stories and knowledge they hold. In a world full of exploiters, they find a balance in preservation and sharing, passing their knowledge to their daughters to ensure the next generation has something to hold on to. I love their stories and I want to share them with the world in hopes of reaching more Indigenous women and knowledge keepers and to inspire new ones.